Interrompemos esse podcast para uma notícia imperdível. Cidade de Deus, a luta não para. Assista a nova série da Max com estreia dia 25 de agosto. Produzida por Fernando Meirelles, baseada no filme. Mas com uma nova história sobre o tráfico, a milícia, corrupção e resistência na favela. Imperdível mesmo. Saiba mais em max.com.
Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me once again as guest curator is fellow Pantheon Podcast Network mate Jason Whissell, host of the It's Not That Bad and There Can Only Be One podcast. Jason, welcome back, my friend.
You know, it's funny. I was listening to one of your older episodes, the underrated 90s rock episode that you had Jay Sweet on. And he mentioned something about the 5-Timer Club, and there were some board shorts involved. So I'm wondering, I'm pretty darn skippy. This might be number 5. So I'm wondering when the board shorts are going to come across the border.
Oh, I have to see about that. Import charges are very expensive for board shorts, apparently, because you guys don't have many places to use them. So
I'm sure I can bring a bucket of sand and near a puddle somewhere.
Well, I appreciate you coming back once again. Now, over those times you've been on the show, Jason, we have covered a ton of genres and topics, but every now and then I want to have just a little bit of fun with the concept of what My Weekly Mixtape is about. See episode 24, the ultimate summer cookout and barbecue playlist with a twist, where on that episode, we didn't actually put together a playlist to use at a summer cookout or barbecue, but instead chose songs that had to be something you would eat or drink at a cookout or barbecue. So today's topic is a little bit along those lines because recently I was on a road trip with the family and a few songs came on in a row where the word whoa was either featured as a lyric in the song or used as a part of the song's melody. And it happened song after song. I said, this could be a topic. Now, Jay, we've talked about, like I said, a lot of different things over the episodes you've been on my show and vice versa. This might be one of the more unique themes we've tackled here.
Well, I'd like to say that I may be uniquely qualified for this episode because much like Keanu Reeves, I am Canadian, I'm a bassist, so I'm going to get this out of my system right now. Whoa. We'll get that out of the system now. I'll try not to Keanu Reeves all over the place here. But I was actually really fascinated when you tossed this to me because, like you, I kind of like to go a little bit extra. So I have spent the last week or so going through artists and lyrics and specifically looking for whoa, as in W-O-A-N-H in that order. Not wow, not oh. I'm not going to Ric Flair here and go, woo! I'm also not going to go ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, or ting-tang, or walla-walla bing-bang. So I guess the witch doctor is kind of out of the question on this. Specifically looking for woes. And I know you, playing in Colbert & Company, I'm sure you have a few woe songs in your set list.
Oh, of course.
And it works as an exclamation. It works as a lyric. Kind of works as a feeling as well.
Yeah, and just like you, as I was going through this is why I bring you on the show, Jay, because as I was going through my songs, I actually went into Apple Music's lyric feature and was looking for the whoa, the W-O-A-H. If you don't have a, you don't have a whoa. So there are certain songs like Baltimore's Tarzan Boy, which immediately came into my mind. Because I thought the Tarzan call in the opening of the song was whoa, and it's actually oh. And now that I've heard myself say that sentence, I can officially say that we have gone off the rails already here.
Well, it's funny because as I was getting home from work on the way to record today, White Lightning from Def Leppard came on, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's a whoa in there. And then I look at the lyrics and like, no, they're singing Run. I can't use that. No, that's... I'm like, White Lightning, Def Leppard, I love that song. Look at the lyrics. Can't use that song. Okay, delete.
Well, let's get down to business. Tonight, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Jason and I will be curating the ultimate whoa mixtape, and we'll use the old cassette deck approach. Jason, as my special guest, will begin side A with his first song choice, and then I'll add a song that I feel best follows up that choice. We'll then flip-flop choosing songs until we've mapped out 10 songs for side A. We'll then give our mixtape a proverbial flip, and we'll map out side B, only this time I'll kick things off with Jason choosing second. Our overall goal for the episode is to craft the best, mixtape possible through only 20 songs. At the end of the show, you can take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. And a few of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with the songs that make them go whoa, and I want to give a quick shout out to a few of those. Philip Bergman chimed in with U2's With or Without You. Ben from the Too Vague podcast chimed in with Van Halen's Hot for Teacher. Sean Goff chimed in with what he calls 2 fun retro-sounding songs from Butch Walker, going with either synthesizers or Summer of '89 because he couldn't decide between the two. Tom Hutchinson chimed in with Jimmy Eat World's Sweetness, saying it's the best he's got for this difficult of a task. Chad Lamassa chimed in with Fall Out Boy's My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark. Seeker chimed in with Toto's Hold the Line, and Christopher Style chimed in with Paramore's Whoa, and Erasure's Love to Hate You. Once again, if you'd like to chime in for future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, come join the fellow mixtapers at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape.
Hey there, busy parents. Christian Swain here, the rock and roll archaeologist. I know just how stressful family dinners can be, from planning and shopping to actually getting everyone to enjoy what you made. But I've got some good news for you. HelloFresh totally gets it too. They're making dinner easier and more enjoyable with fresh ingredients and recipes that even picky eaters love, delivered right to your door each week. I've been using HelloFresh for a while now, and let me tell you, their new Build-A-Plate meals are a game changer. Imagine not having to make multiple dinners to satisfy everyone's tastes. And with so many options, each member of my family gets to build their perfect plate from just one meal. No more, I don't want this at the dinner table, just happy faces and clean plates. Plus, with HelloFresh, I don't have to worry about meal planning or grocery store runs. Their easy-to-follow recipes with pre-portioned ingredients save me so much time, especially now that school's back in session. And here's the best part. Right now, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/PantheonKids to unlock this exclusive offer. That's 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while your subscription is active. So, what are you waiting for? Head to HelloFresh.com/PantheonKids. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Interrompemos esse podcast para uma notícia imperdível. Cidade de Deus, a luta não para. Assista a nova série da Max com estreia dia 25 de agosto. Produzida por Fernando Meirelles, baseada no filme. Mas com uma nova história sobre o tráfico, a milícia, corrupção e resistência na favela. Imperdível mesmo. Saiba mais em max.com.
Now, Jason, if Kesha was here with us, she would announce right now that this place about to whoa. Now, after everyone's done cringing and moaning at that, you can go ahead and start with the first track to get us woeing right along.
Well, I'm going to put a woe to any expectations that people may have figured of songs that I would pick first, because, I've been on a few times and I like to bring the rock. I like to bring the hard stuff, but no. I'm bringing the country. Right off the bat, I'm bringing a song off of the Ever the Bridesmaid, my cover band set list. And we're going to start with Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain.
Nice.
It's a little staccato whoa because it's but everywhere I go and every time, every city we play this song in, guaranteed to go over no matter we were actually playing in Hamilton recently, and we had an encore for the first set. We had to fill the first set out a little bit. So we asked the crowds, like, would you like to hear the Time Warp from the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Or would you like to hear some Shania Twain? And damned if they weren't ready for their Shania, and they freaking loved that song. Goes over every time. So, man, I Feel Like a Woman to get us off on a country start.
I love where you're going with that. And thank you for actually saying the whoa-oh-oh, because, you know, it's a different delivery of the word of the day. I feel like this is like a Pee-wee's Playhouse episode where when the word of the day happens, everybody screams and yells. And that's, if you guys are playing at home or in your car, why don't you do that? Every time one of us say whoa, everyone just starts screaming wherever you're at.
Thank God you went with the Pee-wee's Playhouse thing, because if you turned this into a drinking game, your entire audience would be drunk by the end of side A.
I was about to say probably by the end of the song. And that's a great pick, man. You know, first time you're talking about Shania Twain, but not the first time we're talking about Shania Twain, because she also came up in the Ultimate 90s Canadian Artists playlist, and that was a song I chose that time. So this is actually the second time we're talking Shania, only It's Just You. This song was where she was definitely going more into the pop side of things, and it really just crossed over so well. And I think that crossover is what gave it such longevity when you think about the fact that here in 2024, people are still going nuts when your band plays it. That just shows that this song has a legacy well beyond what she did in the 90s. So great pick, and obviously an iconic whoa. And man, following that up, I'm not going to lie, I don't have much country in my list, but I think I can tap into that crossover appeal I was just talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a song that is poppy with a little bit of country as well, but I'm going to fast forward up to 2013, and I'm going to go off of Global Meltdown, Mr. 305, Pitbull, featuring Kesha and Timber. Number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. And if you look up the lyrics, there are a lot of O's in the song, but the post-chorus is whoa-oh-oh, Timber, whoa-oh-oh, Timber. No, I'm not going to attempt to sing Kesha, but this totally works for it, and it keeps that dance vibe going. It's the only thing even close to country I've got in my list. So damn it, you better move us closer to rock coming out of this one.
But you know what's funny? I think I actually have the perfect bridge song for that. And you may have to correct me on this, but I think this might be the first time that this artist may have ended up on a My Weekly Mixtape.
You have my attention.
I'm going to go with Another Way Out by Hollywood Undead.
Whoa.
This song is actually one of their more tamer songs as far as profanity and, you know, mature lyrics in their song, but it's got a very good driving, almost that mix between rock and dance club vibe. And I freaking love Hollywood Undead. I'm going to get a chance to see them again live this summer. I've seen them live a few times now. This is off their Notes from the Underground album. So if you like Hollywood Undead, this is actually a good introduction song. Like, because there are some Hollywood Undead songs where if you throw that as the first Hollywood Undead song for someone to listen to, they'd be like, whoa, I'm out. Another Way Out is a good way to ease someone into the Hollywood Undead vibe, and they slay live. They're on tour this summer with I Prevail, so if you get a chance to go check them out, by all means do so.
Yeah, when you first said Hollywood Undead, my brain went, where the hell is he going with this one? Because a lot of the stuff is definitely not PG by any stretch of the imagination, but they're a hell of a group, and they've had some longevity, because I remember they've been around for a long time now and consistently putting out music and consistently touring.
I will say, too, during the pandemic, because we were all kind of starved for live music, some of the bands got out there and they started doing live pay-per-view, basically, like live stream, pay for the concert. And you know what? It meant supporting the band. I got 3 of those pandemic live stream pay-per-view type concerts. The first one was the Anthrax 40th anniversary, because naturally. The second one was the Nixons, because naturally, that's what I would do. Hollywood Undead put out a phenomenal one. it was totally worth the money and filled that live music gap that I was missing during those years where live music was not happening.
I was doing a bunch of those as well, between the Dropkick Murphys, doing several that were free and then some that were paid. Corey Taylor did a Forum one that was live that was really good. I ordered 2 or 3 of Blackberry Smokes. If you're a fan of Southern rock, they're one of my absolute favorites, and they put on an incredible live show. At the time, that was like, it felt like an event, even though you were still sitting in the same living room you had been the whole time. So,
oh yeah, the lights were out, the TV was on, and the speakers were up.
yes. So what I'm going to do now is bring the first pick from a Patreon mixtaper into the fold here, because I think coming out of Hollywood Undead, it actually really works. And I'm going to go with Fall Out Boy's My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, Light 'Em Up. Shout out to Patreon mixtaper Chad Lamassa. This one reached number 13 on the Billboard US Hot 100. And I'm not going to lie, this is not the punk rock Fall Out Boy that you got in the early days with Sugar We're Going Down and Dance Dance and America's Sweethearts. This is definitely a poppier side of the band. But for some reason, this song, the first time I heard it, I said, I'm not necessarily a massive fan of the pop side of Fall Out Boy. I said, but this one is different. And I haven't been to a sporting event since that song is released that I haven't heard it. So it's kind of transitioned into a stadium anthem of the modern day.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say, you scooped me on the artist. I didn't have that when I had Tiffany Blues from the Folie à Deux album.
Nice.
But you had to think the Fall Out Boy was going to end up with this. Oh, I know where I'm going to go. Okay, so it's a little rock. It's definitely sports. And people on the My Weekly Mixtape Discord server, because I know there's a wrestling room on there, are going to love this pick. I'm going to go with a song that used to be the opening theme song for Monday Night Raw and my youngest son's favorite band right now, To Be Loved, from Papa Roach.
Nice!
Still a live staple, still a banger, and Papa Roach absolutely slays live. Like, we actually brought my youngest to his first outdoor concert, and it was Papa Roach, Hailstorm, Volbeat, and Default. And I don't know if you guys remember Default at all, but holy crap, were they good. I was surprised at just how good they sounded. Papa Roach, it's hard to say they blew everybody off the stage because Hailstorm really can't be beat, but holy crap, does Papa Roach bring the energy every time. So London, Ontario got served a good dosage of the Roach.
We had a chance to catch Papa Roach, Shinedown, and Spirit Box this past fall, and they broke out to Beloved. It was one of the highlights of their set. Their whole set was fantastic. I mean, they command that stage as if there's a million people watching, and they always have done that. I saw Papa Roach as the opening act for Limp Bizkit with feature act, meaning in between Papa Roach and Limp Bizkit, some guy named Eminem. And that was a wild show. And even then, Papa Roach is the opening act, tore the place down like they just were there on business. And it's nothing personal, but they're going to bring it at 110 miles an hour. And they always do that live. And I'm so glad you picked that. And I'm also so glad that you brought the wrestling theme into this. Because I had a song that I knew I was going to put in tonight for the wrestling fans that listen. But because you had to go wrestling now, I'm going to go with it right now. And I'm going to follow you up with a song that came out in 2016 and currently serves as Cody Rhodes' theme song in the WWE. I am going to go with Downstate's Kingdom. And if you've ever seen Cody Rhodes' modern American Nightmare character ring entrance, you know the exact whoa I'm talking about. And this past spring, I had a chance to take the whole family to a Road to WrestleMania event when we were up in New Hampshire, and Cody Rhodes headlined the main event against Drew McIntyre in a no-holds-barred match. And let me tell you, when he came down to the ring, even though this wasn't on television, everybody in unison did that whoa together, including my kids. It was really awesome. It was a moment for me, if you want to call it that.
Oh my God, we're going to go down that road. You now need to copyright that word. It's a moment. Oh, so now I have to come up with a good moment song for that one. You know what? It's not wrestling, but it definitely has that moment kind of vibe and that crowd kind of vibe. Godsmack put out a video for their song Unforgettable from the When Legends Rise album. And in that video, it had them kind of doing a school visit and teaching kids how to play the song. And then at the end of the video, you have an entire arena floor full of students on drums, students on guitars, students on microphones. And Unforgettable is one of those, definitely crowd sing-along kind of songs with that, whoa, that's unforgettable. When Legends Rise is one of my favorite Godsmack albums of all time, maybe right behind 1,000 Horsepower and The Oracle. It definitely is in that stretch of, that 3-album run. Freaking love this song. It goes over live so well, and I've seen Godsmack more times than I care to count because I can't count that high. But I think coming off of the Cody Rhodes entrance, I think Unforgettable definitely fits that vibe.
It really, really does. And Godsmack, it has that WWE feel, even though the song was obviously not used with them. The title track was, as the song When Legends Rise was used as the WWE Super Showdown 2020 theme song. So they definitely have that WWE connection still. And I think I'm going to go a musical route to follow up Godsmack. And what I'm going to do is bring up a band that I don't know if Godsmack really gets along with very well. Because the song Crying Like a Bitch was about this band, or about at least a member of this band. And I am going to go with Motley Crue's Kickstart My Heart. Because literally the chorus is, whoa, yeah. And musically, it fits coming out of Godsmack because they did tour together on Crew Fest. Whether they got along or not, that's not any of my business. We don't go down that road. There was a ton of drama between the two bands, and obviously that did not end very well. But I will say the song did reach number 27 on the Billboard US Hot 100, so it was a top 40 hit for Motley Crue. One of their biggest hits, an anthem, definitely a stadium anthem, a NASCAR anthem. It's been used in commercials, movies. I mean, even the opening Mick Mars, the guitar riff. We talked about this song on the Hard Rock Road Trip mixtape with John Laurie of Tantric. Why? Because this is a driving anthem, even if the lyrics say otherwise.
I think you would be getting, or at least both of us would be getting hate mail if we did not have Kickstart My Heart on this mixtape. It would be like, do you even whoa, people? Come on.
It would be like that scene in Family Guy where Peter Griffin's going, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa.
It would be like we would start to get like mail with basically a copy of that album and a big sign that says, here's your whoa. That would be it.
I'm just curious to see if somebody wants to go through and count the number of woes in this episode.
See, at this point, if someone is playing the drinking game, if they have dialed 9 and 1, I hope there was someone nearby to dial 1 for them. They're going to need help. Yeah. Okay, so we knocked off one completely must-have, obvious whoa song with Kickstart My Heart. There's another one out there that needs to be on the list, and if we don't put it in there, people are going to sit there and go, do you even whoa? And that's Living on a Prayer from Bon Jovi. But I thought I was going to be clever. I thought I was going to go with a different version of Living on a Prayer, and I hoped I could have used it, but I listened to it. I'm like, no, she actually doesn't go, whoa. She changes it to an ooh. So it's the wrong exclamation. So I can't actually use the 2005 recording of this song by Tori Amos from the Royce Hall Auditorium in Los Angeles. It's a phenomenal song. It's a phenomenal version of it because Tori Amos can do no wrong. But she went ooh instead of whoa, so we have to go with the Bon Jovi.
Of course, and being from New Jersey, if this song didn't come up, I'm sure I would be getting some eyebrows getting raised. Now, I'm also sure living in New Jersey, there are people that are groaning that we picked a Bon Jovi song because it's kind of become like the state national anthem. When I saw the Interrupters this summer with Sum 41, the Interrupters in between songs played part of Living on a Prayer. So there you have it. Obviously, number one hit on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. And depending on how you look at it, it's actually two uses of the word whoa, the whoa in the chorus, as well as if you want to think about what Richie's doing through the talk box, doing the whoa, 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 whoa at the opening of the song. That counts too. So a double dose of whoa here. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, if you were interested in learning more about Living on a Prayer, I highly recommend you check out episode 54, the Ultimate Desmond Child playlist, as Desmond was co-writer of Living on a Prayer with Bon Jovi. And on that episode, we also talk about songs he wrote for Alice Cooper, Kiss, Joan Jett, Aerosmith, Cher, Ricky Martin, and Meat Loaf, among others. So highly recommend that one. We even talk about the key change in the song. So check that episode out.
Also, I had our good friend Sean Faust on There Can Only Be One when we went through the Bon Jovi discography, because Sean might know a little bit about Bon Jovi being part of New Jersey's longest Bon Jovi tribute band. So you have your choices of episodes to listen to, or, just do us a favor and listen to both.
Yeah, and check out Slippery When Wet when they come through to your area, and tell Sean that My Weekly Mixtape and There Can Only Be One said hello. I think the only way to close out this side at this point, because we're going obvious, Kickstart My Heart, Living on a Prayer, closing out side A. Where do we go? Where do we go, Jay? Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child O' Mine, the obvious Guns N' Roses choice here. I mean, you can't even get to the word Sweet Child O' Mine without the whoa-oh-ohs leading into each one. It's all throughout the song. And really, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, and Guns N' Roses back to back to back. This is the late 80s happening here on this side of the tape. So we got to keep in the theme.
I feel like if you took a look at those last three bands, it's like, I'm sure there had to be a bill where the three of them played together at some point in time. Maybe, I don't know. But regardless of, it does feel like the natural progression. And it's funny because I actually didn't have Guns N' Roses anywhere on my bank of songs, because I've got a bunch here where I'm just like, how did I miss that? Because I went into this pretty much ready for anything, and I think we kind of hit the everything on this first side. But yeah, absolutely, Guns N' Roses is an excellent way to close out the side. And
I'll just say this, it's, believe it or not, Guns N' Roses' only number one single. And I always like to say, every time I talk about this song, the radio edit of Sweet Child O' Mine is one of the worst butcherings of a song I've ever heard in my entire life. Anytime it comes on the radio, I have to either change the channel or pull up my phone and play the studio cut, because as soon as the opening snare hits at the beginning of the song, when the band is supposed to kick in, it goes right into Axl's vocals, and it sounds like it doesn't cut properly, and it drives me absolutely insane. And then the guitar solo's chopped in half. It's just literally somebody went in with a hacksaw and said, let's get this down. Who cares what we cut?
Don't let AI shorten your songs.
Well, there you have it, folks. Side A of the Ultimate Whoa playlist, which kicked off with Shania Twain's Man, I Feel Like a Woman, Pitbull and Kesha's Timber, Hollywood Undead's Another Way Out, Fall Out Boys, My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, Light 'Em Up, Papa Roach, To Be Loved, Downstate's Kingdom, Godsmack's Unforgettable, Motley Crue's Kickstart My Heart, Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, and Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child O' Mine. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. And now, Jay, we are flipping things over to side B, where I'm going to kick things off. And I'm just going to go with a song that literally starts off with a whoa. Get us right into it. And that is Billy Joel, The Longest Time, from 1983's An Innocent Man, the ode to the doo-wop era that Billy Joel put out. Reached number 14 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. I can't talk about any Billy Joel song and not mention episode 15, the Ultimate Billy Joel playlist, which featured Liberty DeVito, longtime drummer for the Billy Joel Band. I'm not going to say if the song made the episode or not. You'll have to go tune in and find out. Now, I know I could have very easily went with Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, which includes the whole whoa, 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 which is right before the Brenda and Eddie section of the song. But I decided to go with The Longest Time simply so that I can bring up that after credits scene in How I Met Your Mother that features both versions of future Barney and Ted singing with current version Barney and Ted, their version of The Longest Time, which is pretty good, I might add, but it's a very funny moment in the series. I love this song. I love doo-wop. And really, there are so many doo-wop songs we could put in here. You could do an entire mixtape of doo-wop woes easily because it's part of the doo-wop sound. So I figured a way to check off that box was through this one.
At that point, would it be doo-wop or doo-wope?
Man, I'm telling you, people are unsubscribing from this show faster.
From your show and my shows. Like at this point, they're like, delete, completely forget, block and everything. Bad jokes and dad jokes for days. Yeah, no, you really can't go wrong with Billy Joel in that. And yeah, freaking love Billy Joel. But there's a travesty here. There's an absolute travesty here that we have not hit this song yet. And I want to make sure that we do get this song in here, and I think this is actually a good spot for it. Dear listeners, if someone says to you, "What's new, pussycat?" If you do not respond with, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa," you have failed miserably. This was actually the second song that I thought of the minute you pitched this episode. Man, I Feel Like a Woman was the first one just because it's in my set list. But literally, What's New, Pussycat? If we did not have this song on the mixtape, then we have failed the mixtape, we have failed the people, we have failed the word whoa. But no, we've solved that solution now.
Yes, we have. Written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Reached number 3 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. Totally scooped me on the song. And we were going oldies here, huh?
Well, it's funny because as I was talking about this list, my mother had actually mentioned, because we're all kind of watching Lucifer at this point, tell me Tom Ellis wouldn't be perfect in playing Tom Jones in a biographical pick.
Oh, God, yeah. He is such a great actor. He is incredible. But Lucifer aside here, I think I'm going to make it, using an old Playlist Wars reference, an oldies trifecta now, and go with one of the first songs I thought of with this episode. And this song was written by Jeff Barry, Ellie Greenwich, and Phil Spector, and it reached number 2 on the Billboard US Hot 100. From 1963, the massive hit single from the Ronettes, Be My Baby.
So
now,
good.
Let me tell you, I wanted to include Eddie Money's Take Me Home Tonight because that song interpolates Be My Baby. However, in this version, and hell, Ronnie Spector's even singing on Eddie Money's version. So I'm like, oh, 2 birds, 1 stone, and closer to rock. However, if you look up the lyrics, she says, in Take Me Home Tonight. And it is whoa, in Be My Baby. So we have to go with Be My Baby by default.
I love the fact that you brought up that you checked the lyrics.
We're such nerds, dude.
Oh, dude. I wear it proudly on my sleeve. Geek for days. Mm-hmm. So with every song that I put on my list, I had to double check the lyrics. Now, there was one song where I'm like, I guarantee you that's a whoa. But if you look at the lyrics, it's a wow. There's no way that wow is pronounced this way. So I'm going to put it on here right now. Don't at me. I looked. I disagree with what lyrics.com says, because if you tell me that the Lemonheads don't sing whoa, whoa, whoa with their cover of Mrs. Robinson, you're not listening to the song right. It has to be a whoa. It's not a wow.
There's honestly no way. It doesn't rhyme. They don't go wow, wow, wow.
Well, here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. Wow, wow, wow. No.
It doesn't rhyme.
No, exactly. It's got to be whoa, whoa, whoa. So I'm going with the Lemonheads version of Mrs. Robinson because, yeah, it's a Simon and Garfunkel song, but their cover of it, I think, is more iconic, at least for my musical taste. But I think it bridges us from the oldies into getting back into a more recent vibe.
I appreciate you doing that. You know me and my love of cover songs, so bravo on that. I'll go out on a limb here, and I know I might upset some people with this, but I actually like the Lemonheads version more than Simon and Garfunkel's, and that's nothing against Simon and Garfunkel's. I love it. But for some reason, maybe it's just because it hit when I was in college and around that time of my life where it was my version of the song, quote unquote, because of when I was kind of, growing up. But that one always hits hard for me.
I mean, I'm not surprised because if you think about that bass tone, the do-do-do-do-do, like, we're bassists. I get it. There are certain parts of certain songs that I know, like, as if I'm listening to it and I hear a bass, I'm like, yeah, Brian would like that song.
That is right. Well, we've talked about a bunch of artists that we need to include in here, and we haven't really gotten anywhere near the punk side of things. We've gone a lot of rock, not a lot of punk, and there's a lot of woes going on in the punk rock scene. And I think the first band that comes to mind for me when I think of punk rock woes, and that's W-O-A-H, not W-O-E-S, would be the Misfits. Now, pretty much I could take any song from their entire catalog and plug it in here. So what I'm going to do is just go with my favorite Misfits song, which is Some Kind of Hate, which was originally recorded in 1978 for their Static Age album. But that album wasn't actually released until 1996. I grew up with it as it appeared on the 1985 compilation Legacy of Brutality, where after the band broke up, Danzig went in and overdubbed guitars and bass for that version. I mean, really, you could plug in any song from any era of the Misfits, because I was also thinking, depending on where we were going, American Psycho starts off with the woes from the Michael Graves era. The Misfits, when you talk about woes in music, they have to be included here.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm surprised we hadn't gotten to punk at this point because, yes, punk definitely has a lot of woes and, because that's the crowd call and answer. And if you've been to any punk show, that's definitely a part of it.
That it is. And unlike the Fall Out Boy we used on side A, that's a little bit more of the poppier sound of Fall Out Boy. So not necessarily like the punk rock of Sugar We're Going Down and Dance Dance like they did in the early 2000s. This is more of the pop sound of Fall Out Boy. So I think this is the first real dive into punk rock. So what are you going to follow it up with?
So I'm going to follow that one up with a track off of the Offspring's Americana album. I'm going to go with The Kids Aren't All Right.
Nice.
That song still holds up today. And as I was looking up this song, this is nearing 1 billion streams on Spotify, which is probably only worth about $20 to them. But still, The Kids Aren't All Right. I mean, this is a staple. This is an Offspring staple. And while, there are other songs off the album that may get more plays, The Kids Aren't All Right to me is probably the best song on the album.
I'll just say this. Dexter Holland has a PhD in molecular biology, so I don't think he needs to really worry about how many streams he's getting on Spotify, but Kids Aren't All Right is my favorite song off of Americana. Could be in my top 3 all-time favorite Offspring songs. I absolutely love it. That riff just hits. Like, that is one of my workout anthems. When that riff hits, the song is soaring, it's big. It's not the silly side of the Offspring. It's the serious side, which their serious side truly kicks ass. I think a lot of people don't give their serious side enough credit because they're so focused on the Pretty Fly for a White Guy songs from their catalog, but there's so much more than that, and I love the pick.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you take a listen to Smash kind of has that, that cross section between Pretty Fly for a White Guy and The Kids Aren't All Right. I mean, I remember one of the first Offspring songs I heard, aside from the songs off Smash, was Jennifer Lost the War, because I love those Punkorama compilations. They have that serious side. They have that aggressive side, as well as kind of their boppier, punk poppier type songs. But The Kids Aren't All Right. You're right. That guitar tone is angry, and it's so good.
All right. I know what song I'm going to go with here. I just don't know what version. All right. The original of this song was released in 1939 by Leadbelly. In 1977, Ram Jam made it their massive hit, Black Betty, which reached number 18 on the US Billboard Hot 100. However, I know my Australian friends that listen to this show, including Patreon Mixtaper Seeker, would be very upset if we didn't go with Spiderbait's amazing 2004 version. And coming out of The Offspring, it just makes more sense. So the song, while it was number 1 in Australia, it also charted in the US, reaching number 32 on the Billboard US mainstream rock charts. So even if those in the US say, who's Spiderbait? It was popular around here, just not as popular as it was in Australia, and obviously not as popular as Ram Jam's version was. But regardless, whoa, Black Betty, Ram-a-lamb, or Panda Lamp, or whatever he's saying. I know that meme that's out there. This song kicks ass, and the whoa is really a driving factor of the song.
You know, I'm glad that song is on there, and yeah, you scooped me on the song for sure. But I'm really glad that you actually went with that version, because that actually answers my question as to what to follow this next. And I'm going to stay on the continent, and I'm going to go with Lonely Girl by the band Tonight Alive. And if you've never heard Tonight Alive, they are very, very Paramore-esque. This is off their 2013 The Other Side album. It was released as a single, but never actually charted. They have only ever had one song that ended up on any number 1, and that was off of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack, their song The Edge. It hit number 78 in Australia and number 1 on the UK rock charts. But I'm telling you right now, if you like Paramore, like some of the the earlier Paramore stuff, you're going to really like Tonight Alive. So deep dive it. Trust me, if you're a Paramore fan, you will thank me if you haven't already discovered them.
Going with a deep pick, and our friends in Australia are going to be smiling from ear to ear, going with back-to-back Australia cuts. So I love that. And still in that kind of punk rock Paramore vibe. Paramore has kind of shifted away from the punk rock style of their sound. So I'm glad that there are groups like Tonight Alive that are still carrying that torch, because I absolutely love that sound and that style. And I'm not going to lie, there's a small part of me that wishes Paramore would reintroduce some of that punk flavor, even though I really enjoy where they've gone musically over their career.
Oh, yeah, no. If you like that punk pop sound that Paramore started, Tonight Alive and other bands like Against the Current are definitely carrying the torch for that sound.
Well, you went deep. So I'm going to go deep for my last pick and then throw it back to you to close things out for the night. But is it really a deep pick? Because this is one that one of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with. And it might be a deep pick to some, but to me, it's certainly not. And like Patreon mixtaper Sean Goff, I'm going to be honest here. I was torn between Butch Walker's Synthesizers or Summer of '89 from his 2011 album, The Spade. I'm going to go with Synthesizers. Those two tracks and Closest Thing to You I'm going to find are my 3 favorites on the album. So the fact that Sean picked 2 of them, I knew immediately I was going to be running with this song somewhere. And I think here's the perfect spot, because I feel like this is a song that more people need to know. The music video features Matthew McConaughey reprising his role as David Wooderson from Dazed and Confused. The song is absolutely incredible. Butch Walker is a producing genius. However, you might not know his name. You might remember the band Marvelous 3, Freak of the Week being one of their biggest hits. Just this past year, they put out a killer album that made, I'll do a little bit of a light spoiler here, the Ultimate 2023 mixtape that I recorded with DT Carroll from Space Castle. And Butch Walker's episode of Live from Daryl's House, it's probably my favorite one ever. I love the series. But Butch Walker is one of the most criminally underrated songwriters of this generation. I love his work, and this song fits right into the category Woes for Days, and it's fun, and it's a little deeper. Because on the end of the first side, we went really big and massive, all the home run songs. So this side, I feel like, let's give some people something to chew on from this episode, a couple of deeper picks.
You actually had me scooped on the artist, but none of the songs that were mentioned were the one that I was going to go with. I was going to go with Let It Go Where It's Supposed To off of his Peachtree Battle EP. And you are absolutely right. Like Butch Walker, I would be lying if I didn't say that Butch Walker's name is on my whiteboard of future episodes to do for There Can Only Be One.
Oh,
and that would also include the Marvelous 3 albums, because if memory serves, there aren't enough Marvelous 3 albums to justify a There Can Only Be One. So a Butch Walker episode could include Marvelous 3. It'd be a long episode, but holy crap, that's a ton of good music to go through. But yeah, you scoop me on the artist, and we're at the end, aren't we?
Yeah, we are at the final whoa. Well, maybe not. We'll probably say it 100 more times before this episode's over, but at least for song choices, we're there.
Yeah, so what do I curtain woe with here? That's the question. See, there are a couple songs here, like I could go obscure, kind of what we've been going with. I could, land the plane softly, like I kind of like to do with mixtapes, but no. No, I'm going to end with a band that I have been waiting for someone to mention for a while now on your show. And again, I'll admit I haven't listened to every episode.
Wait a minute.
So
thank you for joining, Jay. We'll see you next time, folks.
So you're going to have to remind me if someone has ever mentioned a Psycho Stick song on any of your episodes. But I'm going to end with number 1 radio single off of their Sandwich album. The very first lyric of the song is whoa, as whoa, oh yeah. Even in the pre-chorus, the lyric is, and this is where my producer told me to say yeah. This song kind of pokes fun at the whole idea of how to write a number 1 single. Very similar, at least in tonality, to Please Play This Song on the Radio from NoFX, but very much in that Psycho Stick vein. If you're looking for fun, funny rock and metal, Psycho Stick is the way to go. And I've seen them live. They are so hilarious. Like I got to see them at a place called The Rock Pile here in Toronto, where, you're really right up front. It's a small club, and it was the best show. Absolutely loved it. Number 1 radio single. The song will be stuck in your head for the rest of your life, as the lyrics say.
Very much a send-off to the Nickelbacks of the time when the song came out. You scooped me on the song. You scooped me on your reference song, where you say it kind of reminds me of that NoFX song, Please Play This Song on the Radio. So you scooped me twice, and I kid you not, the only other time that Psycho Stick has ever been mentioned in my weekly mixtape history up until this moment was the episode I mentioned at the top of the show, episode 24, the Ultimate Summer Cookout and Barbecue Playlist with a twist. So it seems like when we go off the rails, Psycho Stick comes on. So maybe I should do a Psycho Stick episode down the line.
Well, you know what? Or we could just do a There Can Only Be One on Psycho Stick, because that would be hilarious.
That would, and I would be all in on that one. But there you have it, folks. Side B of our Ultimate Whoa mixtape, which by now people are probably tired of hearing that word. But it kicked off with Billy Joel's The Longest Time, Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat, the Ronettes' Be My Baby, the Lemonheads' Mrs. Robinson, Misfits' Some Kind of Hate, The Offsprings' The Kids Aren't All Right, Spiderbait's Black Betty, Tonight Alive's Lonely Girl, Butch Walker's Synthesizers, and Psycho Stick's number 1 radio single. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, Jay, if people want to hear a woe-less episode of There Can Only Be One or It's Not That Bad, where can they find it?
You know, it's funny. I'm trying to think now if I've actually had to do a movie with Keanu Reeves in it, and I don't know if I've actually covered Keanu Reeves. I know there are some that are potentially on the list for movies to eventually be covered, but one day we'll go down that woe. But yes, if you like hearing podcasts that try to find the good things to say about movies, the unfairly maligned flicks that critics have poo-pooed on, you can follow us on social media at Not That Bad Cast to catch It's Not That Bad and our Monday show, Keep Watch Pass, which is the Mary Boff kill of movie topics. And then if you like music talk, which you should because you're listening to this podcast, you can follow us on social media at Only One Cast for There Can Only Be One, where we go through the entire discography of an artist and pick only one song from every studio album. And on opposite weeks, you get Spin, Shuffle, Skip, which is the Mary Boff kill of albums where you had to pick 3 songs, one that you would spin, one that you'd shuffle, and one that you would skip. Or you can just go to the website and get everything all at once at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, you can check out our coming soon page so you can check out what episodes are coming up and you can get your chime-ins there because we'd love to hear from you guys.
As always, man, an absolute pleasure having you on. And I offer my sincere apologies for all the hate mail you're going to receive from this guest appearance, because people are going to go throughout their whole day going, if anybody says, whoa, one more person.
Don't worry. If I get any mail sent to me and, by snail mail, I will put it in the roast basket.
As always, man, a great time. I'll get those board shorts out your way very soon. Thank you for coming back again. And I look forward to yet another crossover and our continued music discussions down the road. Probably a little bit more of a serious topic next time.
Yeah. Just make sure that the board shorts do go around my waistline.
And remember, mixtapers, you could find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, whoa.